بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سوف نتكلم في محاضرة اليوم عن عناصر القصة القصيرة elements of the short story. And when we talk about the elements of the short story, we talk about setting, atmosphere, plot, characterization, point of view, which is called narration, stylistic devices in writing, diction and tone, theme. So when we talk about the elements of the short story, we talk about setting, atmosphere, plot, characterization, point of view, stylistic devices, diction and tone, and theme. عناصر القصة القصيرة: مكان، الحبكة، التشخيص، السرد والأساليب الكتابية الأسلوبية والأسلوب والأفكار. Let us talk about character. Character, before we talk about character, this is about the conflict that we said, man vs himself, herself, psychological صراع نفسي. The leading character struggles with himself or herself, with his or her own soul, ideas, right or wrong, physical limitations, choices. We talked about when a person tries to make a decision. Character. There are two meanings for the word. A person in a work of a fiction is called a character, and the characteristics of a person can be called a character. The doer of the action in the short story is called a character, so we call it a person in a work of fiction. مثال في العمل الخيالي القصصي بنسميه شخصية character. وممكن كمان الشخصية character تطلق على مزايا هذا الشخص, the characteristics of a person. Persons in a work of fiction, they can be antagonist and protagonist. Short stories, as said, use a few characters because we are restricted by the magnitude. One character is clearly central to the story, with all major events having some characteristics. So a person in a work of fiction, he can be a protagonist, البطل, or antagonist, الشرير. Short stories normally use a few characters because we are limited and restricted by the space we have. So you will find that some short stories have few characters, or one character, or three characters only, totally different from the novel, which can have more than one character. One character is clearly central to the story with all the major events, having some importance to this character. He or she is the protagonist, البطل. الشرير ونقيض البطل سميه the opposer. The opposer of the main character is called the antagonist, وهو الخصم, الضد. Characterization, التشخيص, is the information the author gives the reader about the character themselves. The information we know about characters through the author and the writer. The author may reveal a character in a several ways. The character is shown to us in different ways, like his physical appearance, her physical appearance, face, body, shoulders, fat, thin, bulky, what he or she says, thinks, feels, and dreams, what she does or doesn't do, what others say about him, her, and how others react towards him or to him or her. So the characters are revealed by the author and the writer in different ways and several ways. Description of his physical appearance, how he says, how he thinks, how he dreams, how he feels, how he speaks, what he or she does or doesn't, what others say about him or how others react to him. إذا الشخصية يمكن أن تكشف لنا من قبل الكاتب عن طريق مظهره، كلامه، تفكيره، أحلامه، ماذا يفعل، ماذا يقول، وكيف يكون رد فعله تجاه الأشياء. Characters are convincing. When I say characters are convincing, means that I believe the characters to the extent that I say this character resembles me, or resembles my brother, or resembles, my friend. If they are consistent, if they are motivated, if they are lifelike people, resemble real people. متى تكون الشخصيات مقنعة؟ عندما تكون تصرفاتها دائما على منوال واحد، عندها دافعية وتشبه الشخصيات في واقع الحياة. فهنا تكون الشخصيات مقنعة. So we can say characters are convincing if they are consistent, motivated, lifelike characters, resemble real people. In this case, we can say that the characters are convincing. We believe in the character. They resemble people we know because they are consistent, motivated, and they resemble people we know. Characters, individual, round, many-sided, and complex personalities. So we always say that characters can be divided into major characters, round characters, characters which have more than one side, and more than one complex personality. That is called individual, that is called major, that is called round, many-sided, and complex personalities. ودائما الشخصيات الأساسية هي أبطال القصة وأبطال الشورت ستوري. They are individual, round, many-sided, and complex personalities. And they are developing, growing, initiating, dynamic. They have many-sided personalities that change for better, or worse by the end of the story. Characters which develop rapidly through the events of the story. شخصيات تتطور من غني لفقير، من طفل إلى رجل واعد في المجتمع. شخصيات غير ثابتة، شخصيات بتضلش موجودة في محلها، شخصيات معقدة ولها أكثر من وجه وأكثر من جانب في شخصياتها. Developing dynamic, many-sided personalities that change for better or worse by the end of the story. These are called major characters. So the major character is individual, round, many-sided, complex personalities, developing, dynamic. It changes for better or worse, never static. So when we think of a major character, we have to think of these traits. 1, individual. 2, round. 3, many-sided. 4 has complex personalities, 5 developing, 6 dynamic, 7 change for better or worse by the end of the story. Like Jenny, like Michael Hinchard in The Mayor of Canterbury, like Jude in the Jude the Absecure. These are dynamic, developing, complex personalities around an individual. They never stay at the same place. عمرهم ما بيكونوا في نفس المكان في حالة تطور. If we trace the life of Jude in Jude the Obscure, for my students who take novel course with me, they notice the developing life, the rapid developing life of Jude from the beginning till the end, from Mary Green till Chris Minister, then coming back to Mary Green. So these are called major characters الشخصيات الأساسية. Now الشخصيات الثانوية static ثابتة stereotype have one or two characteristics that never change, they don't change from the beginning of the story till the end. They are the same, they occupy the same position, and they can be brilliant detective, drunk man, cruel stepmother, firm to woman like the mayor of Castlebridge. These are flat characters. Flat. They have one or two characteristics that never change and are emphasized. They can be brilliant, detective, drunk, cruel stepmother, whatever. So the characters can be divided into major and minor. The major characters, as we said, individual, round, inside, developing, dynamic, and the minor characters are flat, static, ثابتة, stereotype. They have one characteristic or two characteristics that never change, بتغيروش. مثل مخبر ذكي، مثلا درانك سكير من البداية للنهاية، مرت أبو قاسية جدا. هذه الشخصيات ماينر ولكنها ثابتة static ولا تتغير. So we talk about now point of view, narration. Narration point of view is defined as the angle from which the story is told. From which angle the author or the writer wants to recite the story or tell us the story. We have the innocent eye, the story, العين البريئة. The story is told through the eyes of a child. القصة تروى من خلال عيون الطفل. His judgment being different from that of an adult. طبعا حكمه يختلف عن حكم الراجل والبالغ. So point of view, a narration point is defined as the angle from which the story is told. So we have the innocent eye. The story is told through the eyes of the child, his or her judgment being different that from an adult. Stream of consciousness, and this type is popular during the modern age. The story is told so that the reader feels as if they are inside the head of one character and knows all their thoughts and reactions. When we talk about the stream of consciousness, we talk about the flashback. We talk about our memories, our feelings, our experiences, which are embedded in the mind, and we only remember them. نتكلم عن تيار الشعور، نتكلم عن ذكريات ومشاعر موجودة في الدماغ احنا بس بنتذكرها. For that reason we call it a flashback. So for that reason we say the story is told so that the reader feels as if they are inside, yes, the head of one character. So always, stream of unconscious, stream is always about recollection, about memory, about recounting what happened in the past, about flashback, about previous experiences. To the extent that the reader feels that he is inside the mind or the head of one character and knows all their thoughts and reactions. Then we have the first person narrator as we witnessed in Robinson Crusoe for Daniel Defoe. The whole story is narrated by one character, Robinson Crusoe. The events, the scenes, the setting, everything is narrated by Robinson Crusoe. For that reason, we say that the narration here is the first person narrator, الراوي الوحيد. راوي الشخصية الأوحد مثل رواية روبنسون كروزو واللي احنا بندرسها لطلابنا في مادة الرواية. First person. The story is told by the protagonist or one of the characters who interacts closely with the protagonist or other characters and using the pronoun I, me, we. So you find the story or the novel of Robinson Crusoe starts with the pronoun I. I was born in this place. I traveled. I faced. So when you see the pronoun I, that means the narrative technique used here is the first person narrator. الراوي الشخصية الأوحد أي أن القصة تروى كاملة من خلال البطل مثل رواية روبنسون كروزو للكاتب الإنجليزي دانيال ديفو. The reader sees the story through the person's eyes as he or she experiences and only knows what he or she knows or feels. احنا بنعرف كل شيء مشاعر احاسيس افكار معلومات من خلال شخصيه واحده سواء كانت ذكريه او انثويه. So the reader sees the story through the person's eyes, he or she experiences it, and only knows what he or she knows or feels. Omniscient narrator, وهو الراوي العليم بكل شيء. The author can, and even sometimes it is called the invisible writer. The author can narrate the story using the omniscient point of view. He can control characters. He can shed light on some characters and ignore other characters. He can move from one character to character, event to event, having a free access to the thoughts and feelings of the character. دائما نقول أن الراوي العليم بكل شيء الأومنيشنت ناريتور هو يتحكم بكل شيء بالشخصيات يطلق الضوء هنا يتجاهل هنا يتحرك بين الشخصيات يتحرك بين الأحداث ينتقل من حدث إلى آخر. He can move from character to character, event to event, having a free access to the thoughts and feelings of character. Motivations of his characters. Motivations of his characters. And he introduces information where and when he chooses. He introduces information where and when he chooses. He controls everything from the beginning till the end. And he controls the extent of information we are allowed to know. There are two main types of omniscient point of view. We have the omniscient limited. The author tells the story in a third person using the pronoun she, he, like in Araby for James Joyce, he used the omniscient limited by giving voice to one character inside the story. It is narrated through him. Then he takes the speaker from him and start commenting on the characters and the events. We only know what the character knows and what the author allows him or her to tell us. We can see the thoughts and feeling of the character if that author chooses to reveal them to us. إذا هناك شخصية واحدة داخل القصة يتحكم فيها الراوي العليم بكل شيء ويحدد ماذا يمكن أن نعرف وما هي كمية المعلومات اللي نعرفها أو لا. عشان هيك بنقول we only know that the character knows what the author allows him to or her to tell us. We can see the thoughts and the feeling of the character if the author chooses, allows him to reveal this information to us that we call omniscient narrative. And then we have the omniscient objective. The author tells the story in a third person. It appears as though a camera is following the characters, going anywhere, moving from event to event, moving from character to character, going inside the thoughts and feelings of the character, and recording only what is seen and heard. There is no comment, the characters or their thoughts. That is called the omniscient objective, which means that the invisible author controls everything. الراوي العليم بكل شيء. He moves from one character to character, from event to event, shed light on some characters, ignore other characters, and control the extent of information we are allowed to know. But characters don't comment. Characters don't comment. Only the omniscient objective or the omniscient narrator is the person who is allowed to comment and show us the information. هيك بنكون انتهينا من عناصر القصة القصيرة elements of the short story. فإن شاء الله كل محاضرة أعجبتكم. فإذا أعجبتكم تنسوش اللايك، تنسوش الاشتراك إذا نسيت تشتركوا عشان يصلكم كل شيء جديد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.